Hi, I'm Malcolm Torres. I'm the host of the Sea Stories and Science Fiction podcast and YouTube channel, and I'd like to talk to you today about this book, Beacon 23 by Hugh Howie. There's three things about this book. One is this is the perfect nexus of sea story and science fiction. The second thing is the story itself, the main character and the plot and some of the themes. And then the third thing I'd like to talk about is the author, Hugh Howie, and some of the things that he's done and why he's really well qualified and has just hit a home run in my mind with this book. So first of all, the book itself. This is clearly a science fiction story. It's set several hundred years in the future. There's one main character, and he's on this beacon that is just thousands and millions of light years out into space. And it's a lighthouse, right? It's the same sort of situation that you would have here on Earth for the past many hundreds of years, where you had a lighthouse keeper who was living this very solitary life on a remote jetty or a remote island in a lighthouse, right? And the lighthouse keeper's job is to keep the light on and to help the ships when they're in distress and prevent the ships from coming too close to land and having a shipwreck, right? So you have that kind of old sea story kind of theme and plot, but it's projected, 300 years into the future, where you have these manned beacons. There are these little spaceships, and they're spread out across the galaxy, millions of miles away. And what you have is these gigantic cargo spaceships that cruise through outer space at many times the speed of light. And this particular beacon, Beacon 23, is the location of the story and the main character, where the main character is in this beacon. And there are circumstances where these giant cargo ships come out of this hyper speed, and they come into this area where the beacon is, and there's shipwrecks, and there's a whole variety of different things that are happening there. There's a big subplot in the story that deals with this war that's been going on between humans and aliens. And this lighthouse keeper is a veteran of those wars, and he's got post-traumatic stress disorder, and he's also got like some revenge and some vendetta kind of subplots going on with a few of the aliens. And there's like some paranoia, obviously, because if you're in a beacon by yourself, millions of light years out into space, you might get a little lonely and a little weird. So it's kind of a little bit of humor is used there in this approach to the lighthouse keeper being in the lighthouse. So it's got these really great themes of sea story and science fiction woven together with great character and great writing style. So I really recommend it if you like sea stories and science fiction, right? For me, that's the main draw there. The other thing I would like to talk about is just the overall writing style of the book. I find that this author is particularly skilled at writing. He really kind of sets his own pace and his own tempo, and really creates this whole internal world that you can get into that's just super believable. There's nothing in the writing that knocks you out of the plot. Every scene, every bit of it is just very credible. There's just a wholesale suspension of disbelief and a real comfortable feeling with being inside this plot and following it along and picking up on all the different pieces because of the narrative that the author creates. So that'd be the second thing I'd mention. Now, the third thing I'd like to talk about is the author himself, Hugh Howie. If you'll remember, he wrote this Silo trilogy. There's 3 books. They're big books. There's Wool, Shift, and Dust. And he wrote those in the 2000s, and he received great acclaim. They were bestsellers, Goodreads selection for best books of the year and those types of things. And he has an interesting backstory. I don't know everything about the guy, but he was just a guy, right? He's writing, and he's kind of unknown, and he worked in a bookstore, and on his breaks and on his lunch and in the evening and in the morning, he would write. He would spend his time writing, and that's what he did. So he's written several books with more of a seagoing voyage type of of theme. It's the Molly Fide saga. And so he has that, like that science fiction, but that whole kind of sea story thing that he does, which is cool. And I think he really kind of brought that to the forefront in this particular book. So definitely recommend Beacon 23 by Hugh Howie. It's a short book. It's, just 200 and something pages, a quick read, not a giant novel, but nevertheless packed with a lot of action, suspense, sci-fi thrills, war, and then those kind of sea story, outer space elements. Highly recommended. So thanks for joining me again. I'm Malcolm Torres. I've got this YouTube channel. I've also got a podcast called Sea Stories and Science Fiction. It's on literally dozens of your podcast apps and platforms. Go look for it. Lots of good, original, and classic old sea stories and science fiction on there. And also reach out to me. I'm trying to form a community around sea stories and science fiction on the interwebs. So I'm on all of the social media platforms. Look me up, Malcolm Torres at Sea Stories and Science Fiction. And thanks for joining me. And until next time, I'll see you. Goodbye.